So, should we bring in the closer? And
I think it'd be a good time for that.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 97th episode of the Free Baseball Podcast. We're a week late. We're figuring this out. We're really trying our best to get to 100 episodes before our old madness we were talking about before the podcast. My back hurts. We're both old. Other than that, how's it going, Jake?
Going pretty well. I think so. I don't know. I feel like people ask me that question all the time, and like it's different. You answer it differently than you do in real life, because if somebody asks you in real life, you go, I don't know, fine. Things are going well. Somebody asks you on a podcast, you want to say something, and then I'm just like, oh shit, like what did I do this past week? I had a pretty big weekend, actually. I went to on Thursday last week. I went to the A's game where they walked it off in 11. So I've been to 2 games this year, both walk-offs. The first one was the Patrick Bailey walk-off against the Pirates. This one was a really weird game. I was in left field getting absolutely cooked by the sun. I'm still a little sunburned. You can't tell. It turned into a nice tan. But right now, yeah, but it was I was getting cooked. So like the whole time I'm trying to leave, I'm there with my aunt who's visiting also. So I'm like, I'm going to spend my time with her, and then I'm trying to go home. I got stuff to do. But we're getting cooked out there. The A's don't score for so long. They're down 4-0. Then they just start scoring. They score every inning for 4 straight innings. They go into the 9th, game-tying home run. We go to extra innings. We were facing the Rockies. Great matchup there. Rockies A's. The Rockies take the lead.
Movable force versus
Rockies take the lead in the top of the 10th versus Mason Miller. And of course the A's come back, and we're just like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to leave at that point. Top of the 11th, Rockies put up 4 runs. I'm like, okay, we're gone. We're going. And then the A's, of course, scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 11th to come back and win. So I missed that. But nonetheless, it was dope to have experienced some of that game. And and then I did a bunch of stuff this weekend, as I got a lot of stuff going on. They're kicking me out of my house.
Wow, that sucks. Walk off, good. Homeless, bad.
Yeah,
not great.
No, I won't be homeless. I'll be okay.
What is good? What is good? Hot stretches. What a segue. What a segue. I'm getting kicked out of my house. Let's talk about baseball. Let's talk about some baseball. Because we can talk about some hot stretches. Jose Ramirez, since the 15th of May, hottest hitter in baseball. He's hitting .362, .434 on base percentage. He's slugging a monstrous .936. Scored 14 runs. 7 of them are home runs. 19 RBIs, 1 steal baked in there. And then he's got 1.3 F WAR, supercharged player of the week on MLB The Show. You name it. Jose Ramirez consistently still feels like the single most underrated player in all of baseball. And I feel like we're going to keep saying that until he really gets his recognition. Everyone's like, oh yeah, he's good. He's a top 5 player in baseball.
He is so good. He's so good.
good.
Right now in our fantasy league, he is the number 1 batter after yesterday. He's just been going absolutely off in May. Let's see what his May numbers are. His numbers for May are, I'm going to guess 300 something batting average. He's batting, 296, 375, 704. Well, he's got a 237 BABIP, and he's batting 296. Imagine if he had a 300 BABIP, he'd be batting almost 400. He's got 11 home runs. He's got 4 steals. He's driven in 32 runs this month.
Insane. Yeah, he's so good, and he's really doing it for a Cleveland team that, like him, feels still like they're getting underrated. They've been the best team in the AL over the month. God, they're just really good. I know their division sucks, but they're 37-18, man. That team is 37-18, and I really don't think either one of us said oh yeah, that's going to happen. I think we both picked different front runners for that division, but
yeah, especially if you had told me Shane Bieber was going to be out for the majority of the season, I would have put him even lower, because it seemed like the rotation was done for. Their bullpen was falling apart, and their lineup seemed really weak, but with the step forwards from Andres Hernandez and Josh Naylor, and then Jose Ramirez just being absolutely goated all the time, and
their bullpen,
the rest of the team.
Their bullpens made really effective relievers out of Hunter Gaddis and Cade Smith, Tim Herron, guys you've never heard of. Or
they do it every year.
Yeah, every single year. But J-Ram, I really feel like he's due. to win an MVP. I'm hoping he can continue this for this season. He's so good, man. He just he needs to get his flowers a lot more than he does. And then we got a weird one on the pitcher side. We always do one of both. Matt Waldron for the San Diego Padres, the only knuckleballer left in baseball outside of AAA one that we might see. Dave Fletcher. But Matt Waldron has made 3 starts since the 15th. Against the Atlanta Braves on the 17th, he went 5 2/3, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts in there, 13 whiffs, 31% called strikes plus whiffs percentage. On the 23rd, faced Cincinnati in Sin City. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, given up 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks, 11 whiffs, good for 34% called strikes plus whiff percentage. And then against the Marlins yesterday, he went 7 innings, gave up 6 hits, no earned, no walks, 8 strikeouts, all on knuckleball, 15 whiffs, 33% called strikes plus whiff percentage. Boss Nick Pollock continually says in his starting pitcher streamer ranks, never trust a knuckleballer. I think it's time we can potentially start trusting Matt Waldron because that guy is nasty for the Padres. He's been really, really good over this stretch and honestly pretty solid just over the entire season.
From fantasy, I don't know if he's yet somebody that we can trust, given that his most reliable pitch and his most used pitch is so volatile. To think that splitters are a volatile pitch, knuckleballs are like splitters on steroids. It really just depends on the feel for it. And Waldron's really, really weird in that the knuckleballers we're used to throw a ton of knuckleballs. Like they're going 80, 90% knuckleballs. Waldron's a guy who throws like a third knuckleballs and turns to the rest of his arsenal, which I think he hopes helps the knuckleball catch batters off guard. But what happens is the rest of his arsenal is bad. So he's throwing a low 90s fastball and he's got like a sweeper and a curveball. And it's like, oh, well, these pitches suck. Why don't you throw the one that's good? And right now he's just been getting by. I mean, there's got to be a factor of players just are so not used to it, and that's why he can survive. But it is really weird how he sets himself apart from other knuckleballers, and maybe that's why he was able to make it to the majors, because I'm sure, like we talked about Waldron being like the last knuckleballer right now, and we really haven't seen a lot. There was the guy for the Orioles a few years ago.
What was his name?
Yeah, MLB The Show legend.
Yeah, he was annoying, and MLB The Show. That's basically what everyone knows him for.
But I think what happens is there are probably plenty, or at least a handful of pitchers that attempt to become knuckleballers in the minor leagues. And those players rely so heavily on their knuckleballs. And because they're inherently volatile, they don't portend a long-term success. So when it comes to Waldron, I'm sure he turned away from it, realizing, hey, I'm going to have a rest of this arsenal because hitters are so good nowadays. You throw 90% knuckleballers, they'll just wait for it and hit home runs. So it is interesting. And I would love to see him continue to succeed because I don't want the knuckleballers to go by the wayside to become extinct. So right now, all our faith is in Waldron and I guess David Fletcher a little bit as well. But it's been cool to see him have a lot of success. I don't expect it to continue going forward, but to take down the Braves and then the Reds in Cincinnati is very impressive. And obviously the matchup against the Marlins is you gotta capitalize on your easy matchup. So definitely dope to see for Waldron. And, it's great watching pitchers throw knuckleballs like when George Kirby did it.
Yeah. You want to hear some cool stuff about Matt Waldron's knuckleball that I've just found on Twitter. This is from Adam. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but it's Adam Nalawako. I think it's like NALIWAJKO. So that guy's pretty cool. But comparing knuckleballers with at least 200 pitches thrown since 2008, Matt Waldron this year on his knuckleballer owns the highest whiff rate against, the lowest xWOBA, and the lowest batting average against. He's also, in terms of comparing all those other knuckleballers, he is the hardest thrower of that knuckleballer. He's averaged around 77.5 miles per hour, which Dickey is the closest one to him. He averaged just under 77. And he has peaked velocity-wise with this knuckleball. He's thrown one 84 miles per hour this year. He's thrown an 84 mile per hour knuckleball, which is filthy.
Flamethrower.
Obviously the fastball sucks. He throws the slider. It's not good, but yeah, he's a pitcher. But it's cool. It's always fun seeing guys that are weird at their specific role have success and do well. the guys that are the outlier guys, like Matt Waldron, who's the only knuckleballer, even though he is not really like a primary knuckleballer. He's throwing it closer to like, I think Jake said a third of the time. I think it's like 36% around about. Whereas like R.A. Dickey last year, I think the last year he played when he was in that really shitty year with Atlanta, he threw it like 82% of the time. So like he's not really a pure knuckleballer, but still, it's cool. It's cool to see guys like that carve out a niche and do well. He's also underperforming some of his metrics. He's got like a sub-4 xFIP and FIP, and he's like 4.
But can they really account for that when you got a knuckleballer?
That's fair. I don't know. It's weird to sort of gauge these guys. I just hope he continues to be good because I want him to stay around. I don't want him to like be ass and then just get demoted to the minors. We never see him again. Like Mickey Janis. I had to look up his name. That was the worst.
There we go.
Yeah. Shout out to that guy. I wonder what he's doing.
Just playing with his real 99 Mickey Janis on MLB The Show and just killing everyone.
Just destroying it. Sitting there throwing knuckleballs against his wall in his apartment. Anyway, we got players of the week. We got 2 weeks to talk about. In week 8, which was obviously last week, we can talk about Aaron Judge, return to form, guy destroying the baseball on the AL side, and on the NL side, rookie this time for San Francisco Giants, Luis Matos.
Yeah, Judge has been crazy. He started off the year pretty cold, and I was sort of concerned that lingering effects of his injury and a bunch of other stuff was going to lead to a down season. But then he just turned around and he's been on an incredible stretch. He almost took the spot of Jose Ramirez, but because I knew we would talk about him in this section, I took him out. But same amount of home runs as Joe Ram the last couple of weeks, but he's batting like over 400. It's ridiculous the amount of power that he has and the stretches that he can go on to go from like a sub-average major league hitter and then like 2 weeks later, like top 3 hitter in baseball, and not just like how we rank him, but just based on like WRC plus and stuff. Aaron Judge is ridiculous. And Luis Matos is dope. We've been waiting a while for him to get a real chance in the major leagues. Maybe not a while. He made his debut last year and it was pretty underwhelming. 87 WRC plus. He just doesn't have a lot of pop, though he has already hit 2 home runs, which matches his total from his 76 game debut last year. And this year he's only played 16 games. The thing with Matos is I don't think he has a lot of power. I think he's like a 12 to 15 home run guy, but he does not strike out. And I think he has really good bat to ball skills and he's playing center field for them. So I don't know. I think Luis Matos is pretty dope. And the best part is he's still only 22. So he's got plenty of room to grow.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of him, but I know he's been good since he came in. I think he had a walk-off yesterday. Was it yesterday where they walked off the Phillies?
No idea. Sorry.
We're going to say yeah. We're going to say yeah. He trashed them. Phillies suck. They're the best. The Giants have actually been pretty decent this year.
They've turned it around. Hey, they got rid of all their they put all their starters on the injured list, and then we're just like, hey, we're better now.
Replace them with guys that are good at baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
They're 29, 28. It's not bad. Shout out to those guys. And then week 9, we can talk about some guys we've talked about at length before on the podcast. On the AL side, Bobby Witt Jr. That guy's pretty good at baseball. And on the NL side is Luis Arraez.
Yeah, Bobby Witt's been really good once again this year. I think I wouldn't say he's underrated, but he is improving every single year. Mm-hmm. And I think that like easily puts him in the top 5 in all of baseball in terms of talent. I mean, he's already at 3.4 F4 this year. Last year he had a career high 6. And so he's going to surpass that easily. He's batting over 300. He's got 9 home runs. He's got 16 stolen bases. He's increased his walk rate. Everything's looking great. He's got incredible batted ball metrics. And Bobby Witt Jr. is the real deal, and he's still only 24. I don't know. I feel like we're witnessing the rise of a future Hall of Famer.
I think so too. You can go look at his Savant page. It's literally all red. You won't see really any other color. Bobby Witt, really, really good. He kind of followed his pretty middling first year. Rookie year wasn't really great. Everyone kind of expected him to do super well. And then followed up with an extremely good sophomore season on a completely garbage Royals team. So it sort of got overshadowed because nobody was paying attention to them. Like the Royals won 59 games or something like that. They were awful last year. So nobody really paid attention to just how good Bobby Witt was. Popped up at the end of the year with 6 WAR and everyone's like, oh shit. Like when that happened, if you're not like super plugged into the game, Bobby Witt Jr., he's so good, man. He's talent wise. Yeah. I think he's a top 5 player right now. I think on F4 since the start of last season. He's only trailing one player in all of baseball, and it's Mookie. So like
That's crazy.
Pretty insane. Yeah, best players in baseball over the last calendar year. Top three is Mookie Betts, Bobby Witt Jr., and Shohei Ohtani, and he has a sizable lead over Ohtani too, like 0.4 F4, something like that. So like, yeah, he is excellent. Really, really, really good. I think he will, if he continues this pace, he's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure. I really want him to stay in Kansas City because they need something good going for him. It's really nice to see them actually not complete dog shit.
He's got
now.
incentive. He's got the extension, so no reason to leave.
That's right. And then Luis Arias. Do you want to talk about him?
Yeah, I'd love to. Luis Arias has been crazy since going to the Padres. Obviously, we sort of know what he is. He's one of the, maybe the best, probably the best contact hitter in the league for the past few years. The guy's career batting average is 326. But since coming over to San Diego, batting 379 with a 4% strikeout rate. He struck out just 4 times in 22 games. So he's doing Luis Arias stuff. He's stealing some bases as well, too, which is interesting. He's up to 3. His career high is 4. So the new rules are definitely playing in his favor in that regard. But Luis Arias doing what he does best, get a lot of hits. And I think there was a stretch where he was doing oh my gosh. There was a stretch where he had a multi-hit game in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight games. The last 2 of which were 4-hit games. So he went 6 straight 2-hit games. And then the last 2 was just like, back-to-back 4-hit games. Absolutely ridiculous. Luis Arias, the best contact hitter in baseball. He's so fun to watch. And it's really cool. I love the parallels now. I know it's really hard to do this considering the comparison is with the Hall of Famer. But now that he's in San Diego, pure left-handed hitter, the best contact hitter in baseball, it's just Tony Gwynn 2.0.
Definitely. So he's hit I think he hit 472 over the week that got him the player of the week. And he's just so good. I think he's hitting something like 390 or 385. It's like high threes.
379 since going to the Padres.
He's just so good, man. Still kind of, we know what he is. He's hitting this well. He's still not worth 1 F4 yet, but it's really fun to see Luis Arias just do Luis Arias things. We all kind of knew exactly what he is. I think that point was really, really hammered home well. And it is super fun to draw that parallel to Tony Gwynn because, that's the last one that we really remember. It's Tony Gwynn, Ichiro. Now we have a Luis Arias. It's really, really a fun time, especially if you're a Padres fan. Hopefully they can kind of right the ship and not be a shitty baseball team, but I don't really know if that's going to happen, but you at least get Luis Arias to watch. So shout out to that. That's all of our player check-ins that we can talk about. We're done with our introduction. What are some storylines that we can talk about? Kind of had a big one yesterday, Jake. What was that one?
Yeah, the GOAT of umpires, Angel Hernandez, is heading to the heaven for. This is a terrible analogy. I was trying to play off his first name. He died. He's no longer with us. He's in the room with me right now. I feel his presence. Angel Hernandez is gone, and it was out of nowhere too, which for a while it seemed like Angel Hernandez would be the type of guy to just never retire. He knows everyone hates him, and he almost is a martyr by not retiring. And it just felt that way because he would never get, larger roles in terms of umping playoff games or World Series games, and everybody hated him. Players, I'm sure other umpires didn't like him because he made them look bad, and he was just always out there to throw somebody out of the ball game. So it was crazy how unified everybody was in rejoicing over the retirement of this umpire. So much so that I started feeling a little bad for the guy. I know he is the worst umpire I've ever watched. I know he's an antagonist. I know he's always looking to make the game about himself, which is everything we hate about umpires. But then I started feeling bad because it was so unanimous. I didn't see a single person out there being like, come on, man, he's just doing his job. He's trying his best. It was just LASIK, the eye surgery, has a Twitter account and was dunking all over him, being like, oh, we offered to give him LASIK because he's a blind ass umpire. It's crazy. And it feels like an era had gone too fast.
I kind of felt a little bad because all right, he's retiring. Cool. Everyone shit on him. Nobody was like, oh yeah, cool. Even Passan and Nightingale, who made the tweets about him retiring, were like, oh yeah, renowned shitty umpire that nobody liked. Ranger Hernandez is retiring.
Do you think it would be a passing bomb for any other umpire? No.
Yeah. No, that's so funny though. Do you remember when he tried to sue Major League Baseball?
Yeah, because he was saying they were being racist for not putting him in World Series games. And maybe if he had sued them for discriminating against him because he's blind.
Do you remember MLB's defense?
I'm pretty sure they were just like, no, you just suck.
Yeah, they literally wheeled and they had a fucking montage made of all the calls he missed. They brought out a TV like it was like science class to watch Bill Nye the Science Guy in the middle of the court case, and just like, here you go. Here's how ass you were.
And the people on the jury are just like, oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that bad. Oh, my, wow. Oh, turn it off. Oh.
Yikes.
Yo, cover the kid's eyes. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's something else.
It's really wild. And there's just so many great memories from it. Just like, Kyle Schwarber is a good one. I think that Ian Kinsler quote about him is really good that I just saw recently. But there's just so many good clips.
What was the Kinsler quote?
Kinsler, just one time in the middle of an at bat, he just like got a call wrong, and he just turns to him and he just goes like, you're really bad at your job. Like, you should just quit. Nobody likes you. Nobody wants you to umpire games. So like, please just like do everybody a service and just stop being an umpire. And so he threw him out of the game. he doubled down afterwards. He's just like, yeah, I just told him like, he's just not good at his job. And then the next game, they're shaking hands and stuff, like acting all buddy. But I'm just like, yeah, Ian's just trying to like save face. But there's so much stuff where it's like that. Do we know if this is like right away, like he's done for the season, or is this at the end of the season?
It was effective immediately. So he's retired now. Apparently they've been trying to come to a financial settlement because, in case you did not know, if you're watching this, umpires are unionized. So he left in the middle of the year. They did negotiate a financial settlement so he could go. He said that he wanted to leave so he could spend more time with his family. I honestly think he was just tired, probably, of people shitting on him. I think that was probably got away on you after so long. Do you remember a couple years? Well, we were little kids. Have you ever seen the clip of Steve McMichael at the Cubs game shitting on him during the 7th inning stretch where he's literally just like, you suck, Hernandez. We hate you. Like,
wait, this was the Cubs. So he was leading the 7th inning stretch.
Yeah, Steve McMichael was leading the.
Who is Steve McMichael?
He was an offensive lineman for the Bears back when they won the Super Bowl.
If people don't know, the tradition at Wrigley Field is during the 7th inning stretch where you sing the song about popcorn. A special guest will come in and lead the whole stadium in the song from the press box. And so Davis is saying that during that song, he was just shitting all over Angel Hernandez.
He literally didn't even
over the mic, over the loudspeaker. He
didn't even start the song, and he literally was just like, Angel Hernandez, your ass.
And this was 20 years ago.
That was in 2001. That was
23 years ago. And the guy is still lauded as the worst umpire in baseball. So who takes that crown from Hernandez? I've seen a couple names thrown around.
Who's your bet?
I've seen CB Buckner thrown around.
It's got.
And I've seen Laz Diaz.
No, I don't think Laz
CB's terrible. Laz is goofy, but CB's bad.
CB is bad. Laz is at least not always bad.
But
CB Buckner feels like he's mostly bad.
Laz is the one that Aaron Boone did the impersonation of.
Oh, well, that's funny though. Like, you can deal with that.
No, I think CB Buckner is probably the worst, though. I think we'll get a better idea throughout the year as we look for a scapegoat as to why our teams are doing bad and why our pitcher got blown up for 7 runs. Speaking of.
Well, yeah, that kind of sucks. My thing with like Angel is like, you're bad at your job, and like I hate shitting on him because like, congratulations on being retired, big dog. Like, but also like, if casual fans of the sport know who you are and you're an umpire, that's bad. Like that's that's not good.
Yeah, this weekend I was at the Alameda Beach with some people for an event, and I mention, people ask me what I do for work, and I say my boring job, and then I tell people I also do baseball stuff and get paid for it. And then they say, "Oh, well, I'm going to a baseball game like later this year. Like, what should I say to people to make me look smart?" And I was just like, "Oh, just like complain about the umpires and just say like Angel Hernandez. Oh, that guy sucks, doesn't he?" Like the next day, he retired. It's like I brought it into the
Laz
universe.
Diaz, that guy
Yeah,
sucks.
but I think it's funny that he is so universally regarded as the worst umpire that it's like, oh, what can you say to like make people think you know stuff about baseball and also be relatable? Oh, complain about the worst umpire in baseball. And yeah, it's
Right.
crazy. And now he's gone. So yeah, who are you supposed to complain about now?
That's
The
right.
guy that got plunked in the head by Edmundo Sosa. Remember that guy? He's still around making goofy calls sometimes, because he was the one. He was part of the umpiring crew that called the White Sox game over for interference on that pop up to the shortstop or whatever.
I didn't see
that.
I saw that happened, but I didn't see the clip.
It was White Sox Orioles, and what happened is they had like first and second or something, pop up to the shortstop, but Gunnar Henderson is playing deep shortstop, so he runs in. But meanwhile, the runner who was on second base is inching off of second, like looking at the ball in the air, and he's moving towards third because there's one out. So he doesn't see Gunnar coming from behind him, and Gunnar like tries to go to the runner's left and his left. And then like sees the runner moving, and he sort of gets in his way. So he has to like go around him. And then he makes it was easy. He easily made the pop up, but he sort of just had to like juke around the runner who couldn't see him because he was behind him. And then they just called it over, 2 outs, because 1 out on the pop up, and then runner fielder interference on the runner there for not seeing the guy behind him. So yeah, maybe that guy will get up there. I don't even know his name, but that's the worst thing you can be, is an umpire where everybody knows your name.
That's true. So we got rid of Joe West. We got rid of Angel Hernandez. It's just Laz and CB. Laz and CB Buckner. Maybe Phil Cousy. He kind of sucks too. We'll see. So sick. We're done with that. Good news has to be followed by extremely bad news, and that is reigning NL MVP Ronald Acuña Jr. is going to be out for the year with another ACL injury. He's done. Not going to play more baseball this year, and that really sucks. He had been sort of mid to start the year, and then was picking up the pace a little bit, and then whoosh, just right out from under you. Season over. Braves obviously need to pick up their pieces. Still good baseball team, but it sucks seeing good players get hurt. It sucks seeing any player get hurt, really. But yeah, Ronald Acuña done for the year. Especially
the most exciting ones in baseball. I mean, Ronald Acuña had one of the most unique seasons last year. I know that's sort of taboo to say most unique, but nonetheless, he was the first player ever with a 40-70 season, 40 homers, 70 steals, and he batted like 330, unanimous MVP. It was awesome. But yeah, this is another knee injury, and it gets concerning, especially because once you do this multiple times to the same knee and stuff, or maybe it was the other knee, that would be even worse, but it just tends to linger. It tends to build on itself. It tends to be something that's going to be an issue throughout his career. And then you get to the point where you're Mickey Mantle in your 30s and you can't fucking move because your knees are all tore up. And that could be the case with Ronald, but I think the clear comparison here with Ronald Acuña Jr. is Eric Davis, who played for the Reds in the 90s and the 80s.
That's a good call.
Literally the same exact player, like absolutely electric center fielder with all the tools, power, speed. This was a 40-40 guy. He was so good, and injuries just took a toll on him, and his career sort of fizzled out. I'm going to pull him up just so that I can sort of back this up with stats.
I want to say he hurt his back, and that's what ended up ruining him.
Yeah. So he was in 1986 at 24, Eric Davis, 27 home runs, 80 steals the next season, 37 home runs, 50 steals, 26 home runs, 35 steals, 34 home runs, 21 steals, 24 home runs, 21 steals. Then he's injured in 1991. He had a couple more 2020 seasons, but after, like, once he was in his 30s, from there on, it was just hit or miss whether or not he'd be able to stay on the field. He had 3 full seasons in his 30s. That was 1993, 1996, and 1998. And yeah, he clearly had his ability sapped. And I really hope this isn't the case for Ronald, but with such a clear comparison, this really feels like how it is. what Ronald has over Eric Davis, though, is that Davis injured himself in his late 20s. Acuña obviously has torn his ACL twice, but he's still just 26. This is like when Eric Davis was getting his career started. So it's interesting that, Ronald could come back and sort of take it easy over the next couple of years, and he's still only 28. So I think there's still some hope that Ronald can get back to being the power speed threat he once was, but it's not going to be this year, and it likely won't be next year. And on top of all of the injury concerns, there's the concerns that he was not hitting well this year either. It dropped his batting average over 80 points, hit 4 home runs in 49 games after hitting 41 last year, watched his barrel rate fall under double digits for the first time ever. Just a lot of concerning things on the batting side. And I think the most notable thing is what made him an MVP candidate last year was dropping his strikeout rate by like 12%. It's right back up to his career rate, 24% right now, when he was at 11% last year. So a lot of concerning things there with Ronald, and we won't be able to address them until next year. But I really do hope for the best, because he is one of the most exciting players to watch in the history of baseball.
That's true. And it really sucks. Eric Davis actually kind of ruined himself in the World Series when they won it. He actually dove for a ball, lacerated his kidney, which really sucked.
Wow.
And that that sort of ended Eric Davis. It's just weird because it's 2 ACL injuries. And I think the Mickey Mantle comparison for me stands out a little more, because Mickey Mantle, in case you did not know, Mickey Mantle ended up getting his entire career ruined because he tore his ACL in a time where they didn't really have the medical technology to effectively do surgery and repair it. He actually tripped over like a drainage pipe or something in the outfield at some shit ass stadium back in the day where the stadiums just sucked. It ruined his knee, tore his ACL, basically played his entire career on an unfixed torn ACL that healed weird. So I think, but he was still a slugger. I think Ronald Acuña Jr., one of the things that really is concerning for me is the fact that it could just continue to sap his athleticism, because you've seen a little bit of it. Like, yeah, he's quick, he stole those bases, but he's a power speed guy. He's one of the most premier power speed guys baseball's ever seen. Taking away the speed part of the power speed guy takes away part of that electricity that he provides, and that's really not good. But I don't know which one it is, because he's torn his ACL. I don't know if it's the same ACL or if it's another, like if it's the other leg. I don't know. I've been trying to find that. I can't find that. But yeah, it's not good. And it's never good to see anything like that. It was a non-contact thing. He tore it running the bases. Sucks all around. Hope he can have a speedy recovery. The one good thing now that we've seen with ACL injuries is that pretty much medical technology has advanced to the point where they're recovering extremely quick from them, and they're coming back, and it's really not having too much of an adverse effect. It just sucks because I hate calling players injury prone, and that shit sucks. I'm not a fan. I don't think that's actually a thing. It's luck based, really. I would hate to see Ronald Acuña Jr. be continuously unlucky like this for the rest of his career, because I don't want a situation like what happened with Eric Davis, or like what happened with Ken Griffey Jr., or even Mickey Mantle taking away part of that, because Ronald Acuña Jr. on this trajectory is also, we talked about Bobby Witt Jr. being a Hall of Famer. Ronald Acuña Jr. on this trajectory is a Hall of Famer. We got to see Ken Griffey Jr. get robbed of potentially being literally all time the number 1 baseball player ever. He still hit 600 home runs and lost a bunch of seasons to injury when he played with Cincinnati. I'm afraid that we might lose a large chunk of Acuña's career to injury, and that sucks. He'll now miss basically 2 full seasons because of an ACL injury.
No, it's both knees. It's both knees. Good. Oh, he's done for. It was his right knee first, and now his left knee. Oh no,
it's not great. That's what I'm concerned about. At the end of his career, I don't want to look back and be like, well, what if Ronald Acuña Jr. never got hurt? That's what is scary for me. Ken Griffey Jr. had it happen. Yeah, we will. Eric Davis had it happen. Mickey Mantle even had it happen. What if we got to see a completely healthy Mickey Mantle his whole career? It's one of those. Mike Trout. Yeah, Mike Trout. He was on a trajectory to be the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. It's just guys like this. And then it feels unfair. It feels unfair from a fan perspective. I'm sure it feels unfair if you were a fan of that team. And even honestly, if you're just Ronald Acuña Jr., why does this keep happening to you? It's just really unfortunate. But anyway, we can follow up bad news with potentially more bad news. We got more City Connect jerseys to dissect. So which one do we have this time, Jake?
The worst one.
Yeah, probably the worst one.
Yeah, this one's pretty funny. I was really
Terrible.
interested to see what the Cardinals would do here because they're not ones to have a lot of different uniforms. This might be the first. I think I read something that said this is the first time they'll wear a red uniform during the regular season. So that says, I think, enough about how stringent they are about changing things up. They like the status quo. They're like the Yankees. They don't want to. They've got a lot of history, and they're like, hey, we wear white home jerseys. I don't know. Whatever. So I didn't expect. I was interested to see how creative they could get here. It turns out not a lot. We'll start with the jersey because there's more to break down. Not a lot, but more. The jersey's very similar to the regular jersey, except it's red. And instead of saying St. Louis, it says, or Cardinals, it says the loo, like the toilet in England.
Yeah,
so that's a really interesting choice. And then they tried to pass it off as saying, this is what we call the city where we're from. And all I saw on the internet was nobody calls St. Louis the loo. Why would you call it that? It doesn't make any sense. So it looks goofy. It looks like, okay, we have a red Cardinals jersey, and then we made the name dumb. And then how can we top it off? By putting a hat with 3 letters on it. Beautiful. So I think it's very unoriginal. Like, I don't think it took much thought to, let's make the jersey our primary color. Whoa, let's not have it say our name on it and instead do the nickname for the city because it's a City Connect. And then what if instead of having our usual beautiful St. Louis logo, we just take it all apart and put it across so it looks like a terrible hat for a fire department?
Yeah, so here's my things. I'm obviously slanted from the lens of a Cubs fan, so I think they're ass anyway, but here's why they are terrible. I think we compared them to the Dodgers, which are objectively the worst because they've done the least with them. This one sucks. The Lou comes from a Nelly song. You remember Nelly back from 2007?
Oh, yeah.
He had a song where he called St. Louis the Lou. So he's the only one that's called that. I think it's pretty bad to have your entire thing be named after a synonym for the bathroom. Terrible. Hats are awful. You have Paul Goldschmidt on here, who is one of the worst hitters in baseball, also celebrating that. Great. They have this patch on there. I don't think we have a picture of it. Oh, you can sort of see it with Paul Goldschmidt. Here's how boring this shit is. It says STL. Congratulations, St. Louis. It has the fleur-de-lis for Saint Louis, Missouri, because that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, I guess. And then it has the stupid little gate. And then it has the stupid little gateway.
What?
Then it has this stupid little gateway arch that goes through it. It sucks. It's so bad.
Look how French we are. St. Louis, Missouri.
Saint Louis, Missouri. It's terrible. There is awful. It sucks so bad.
Why didn't they do that patch on the sleeve as the hat? Because that would automatically bring it out of the bottom 2 spots.
Would it? Because
the hat is so bad.
It looks like a McDonald's logo.
Sure, that's better than STL.
But from far away, it looks like the McDonald's logo. It has the arch. It's yellow and red. It sucks.
You know what? One of my favorite games, Davis, is to look at an acronym and to guess what it stands for. What do you think STL stands for?
Oh, an STL is one of the files you use for 3D printing.
Well, what's the acronym?
Couldn't tell you, big dog.
Okay, I think it stands for stupid.
Stupid, terrible logo, because that's what they have on their hat.
Ooh!
This one sucks. I think this one is the worst because they simultaneously did nothing with it and made it look worse. I think the thing with the Cardinals is like, all right, I don't like them. Fair. Their jerseys are extremely clean. Like, their jerseys are really clean. Their logo's really good. I really actually am a big fan of the like birds on the bat logo. That's dope.
Yeah.
Like, it's super sick. And then they made it red. They gave it a terrible name, the Lou. I like the font. That's kind of cool. It wraps around the bat.
But that's their font on everything.
That's true. And then the hat's
they didn't come up with anything. The
hat's awful. It's super lazy. And I feel like we've complained about that one multiple times with some City Connects. This one feels like they also waited until the last possible day and they're just like, oh shit, we have to make one of these. And they tried to do
to think we thought the Tigers were lazy, because this tops that, I think.
That's at least a little bit different than that.
Yeah, exactly. At least you changed the colors a bit. Like, this is ridiculous.
I think I said it with the Tigers one. It's wrong. I think this is the worst City Connect that they have come up with so far. I think this is the singular worst City Connect, because at least with the but it doesn't look objectively worse. This is lazy and it looks objectively worse. So I think this is the worst City Connect jersey that they have come up with.
Is this the last one this year?
I don't know. Where's the release history? I think the Dodgers are supposed to get one later this year.
Another one?
Yeah, because they had the leak, remember?
They had the worst one, so they were like, we need another one.
The leak
so we can try to top it. So I think the only teams that don't have one, every
Yankees
team in the National League has one. Every team in the National League
the
has
Blue
one.
Jays are supposed to release one.
Okay. Blue Jays, we're waiting on the Blue Jays. We're waiting on the Yankees. The Yankees probably won't have one.
We're waiting on so for the rest of the known schedule this year. The Blue Jays are supposed to release one in 2 days. It's supposed to be on the 31st. Ooh. The Twins are going to get one in June.
Okay.
And then the Dodgers are supposed to get one in late June. After that, the only teams that will not have one would be the Yankees, who've already said that they're not going to participate, and the Oakland Athletics, who probably are not coming up with one because I feel like
let's connect to the city that we're
let's connect to the city that we're trying to leave. I feel like that's probably a bad idea. So
yeah,
after the rest of the schedule, it's just going to be A's and Yankees.
All right. Well, once we get that final Dodgers one, we can do another tier ranking, but that'll be sounds like a month from now. So get pumped, everyone. We're gonna do a full tier list of all of the City Connect jerseys.
So that's the only things that we had on the schedule. But I'm gonna add one thing.
Please.
I don't know if I sent it to you earlier. I wanted to have a little round table chat, just for like a few minutes on what are your immediate thoughts behind the MLB choosing to integrate Negro League statistics into Major League scorekeeping and statistics, because now it's caused a huge shakeup with basically all of Major League Baseball's records because they've added in all these Negro League players. What are your immediate thoughts of that? Because I think I have some mixed feelings.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on the mixed feelings because, you know, when I hear that, I fully support it because obviously, you know, we've sort of thrown away the Negro Leagues and the statistics and the players for a long time. And we're sort of now just giving them the respect that they deserve. And I was like, okay, yeah, dope. Yeah. We've already seen those become official statistics like on Baseball Reference and Fangraphs and stuff, but now it's becoming official leaderboards. So that switches up, it changes up all the leaderboards. So at first I was like fully 100% backing it. And then I went to go look at what the leaderboards looked like. And it was just like, all right, top 10 batting averages of all time. All right, now we have 4 players from the Negro Leagues on there. And so my first thought is just like, oh, dang, well, that seems like an outsized portion of the landscape of Major League Baseball and the history of Major League Baseball to have, you know, some of the players that played in this league that was around for a few decades, like majority taking up a list. That like my initial feeling was to be like, oh, that doesn't seem right. But now that I've had more time to think about it, not only am I still supportive of it, but I think the fact that it brings up these feelings is important because I think we get these feelings of, oh, this doesn't seem right. It's such a sorry, I just saw somebody's texts about what we're talking about. He just said, God, this is the most boring conversation ever. That's so funny. Anyway, I think it is important that we do think about why we look at that and we sort of get irked. And I think it's important that we do that because it brings up the fact of, oh, we were sort of disregarding these statistics for so long, obviously because these players were in a different league, but why were they in a different league? Because they were black. So really the only reason we were keeping these players off of these leaderboards is because they were black and because they were forced to play in an all black league. And I don't think that's something that they should pay for. And it doesn't matter how good that league was because that was all they could play in. That was the highest league black people back then could play in. And these were the best players of those times. So I think when people go to look at the leaderboards and they see Josh Gibson atop the slugging percentage and OPS leaderboard, and they see Buck Leonard on there, they shouldn't be thinking, or maybe they should think, oh, wow, that that seems weird because I've never seen this guy play. I've never seen his stats. But then it should turn into a learning process so that people can learn more about the history of the Negro Leagues and understand why it's so important that we have this and why we recognize these players, and that it's important to bring up the fact that even if you think these stats aren't earned because it wasn't technically in Major League Baseball, that's because we used to be fucking racist and now we're not racist. Right. So this is important to have it this way.
Right. I think people don't realize also that a large chunk of this is there was never a formal law or never a formal rule that black players could not play in Major League Baseball. And that was actually a gentleman's agreement. They literally all the owners decided, hey, we are not going to actively sign players that are African-American. We're not going to have black players. We're not going to do this. We are not going to do this. And it started way back in the day. It's the whole reason it actually got vetoed by Kennesaw Mountain Landis. That's why he's not on the MVP trophy anymore, in case you did not know that. I think I've said that on this podcast like 3 times. Yeah, that guy super sucks. My big deal, I really like that some of the records are being integrated. And I think it's like some of them, it's just weird to quantify Negro League records because like they don't have Josh Gibson's reported home run record, which was like 867 or something like that, because most of them were in barnstorming. It's kind of weird for like record keeping. My thing is I'm similar to, I'm like that they're being integrated, and I think that this history is important to be preserved, but I sort of like what Foolish Baseball said about it. And this is what he said verbatim. He said, I hate to be a wet blanket, but this has never really done anything for me. I don't need Major League Baseball to float down from the heavens and decree that the Negro Leagues were good. Yeah, I know they were good. And the fact that players like Josh Gibson explicitly did not play in Major League Baseball is why the Negro Leagues were important. I think that history being kept in, and that's why I have mixed feelings. I think it's a good and bad thing because like, it really sucks for you to come for Major League Baseball to come now and be like, oh yeah, they were big leaguers all along. Like, no, you specifically made it so that was not the case. Mm-hmm. And I think that sucks. I think that's really unfortunate. I'm glad that they're getting the recognition, but I think that the recognition honestly should be still kept separate because that's where they made their history. And I think even the like entire conversation about like, was their league worse? I don't think their league was worse. I think their league was just the same. I think the fact that you have made it a deal throughout history, they were separate. Why are you going to be like, oh no, we treated him good? No, you don't get that. You don't get to go back on what you did way back in the day and just be like, oh no, we had them all along. We should celebrate them now. Why didn't you celebrate them then? I think I don't know. I have really mixed emotions on it because yeah, I care a lot about it. I've consistently cared a lot about it. I think it's really interesting. It's a really good history lesson to learn for the game. But yeah, it's a dark part of baseball that I feel like you should not ignore. And I don't know if this is the right way to recognize it. I think, honestly, there should be some shakeup with the records anyway. Good part. Hey, racists records getting bodied. Ty Cobb, your batting average record. Fuck you. Like
I saw that too. Yeah, he's the all-time leader in batting average, and he got passed because he's racist. Bro, imagine that guy is rolling. That guy's doing 360s in his grave right now because a black man passed him in the all-time average leaderboard. That's awesome.
Weep, mauled, and seethe. So that part's awesome. Sick. I love that part. But I really think that their history should be put in a different spot. I like that they're acknowledging the records, but I feel like trying to get away from the fact that it was not like they just weren't allowed because the racists in charge wouldn't allow them to play. They shouldn't go back later and just be like, oh no, anyway, let's let them all in. They were big leaguers all along. Like, no, you wouldn't let them do that. I think
it's a really interesting conversation. And I'm glad both of us sort of looked at it and yeah. And we looked at it. I think he was talking about something else actually, which makes it even funnier. But anyway, I think it's good that we look at that and we have this sort of internal turmoil of trying to decide how this should be looked at, whether we should support it, because this is something where, hey, if you don't support it, you're just being racist again. And it's like, no, I think there's other ways to think about this.
It'd be fun. Make all stats that were pre-integration not count for baseball records.
Boom. Yeah.
There you go. And then you duck this entirely.
Bye, Babe Ruth.
He killed his wife. Allegedly killed his wife. Yeah. So That's all we have for this episode of the Free Baseball Podcast. We are sub 1 hour today for what feels like the first time in forever.
Might be.
We have pitched a Maddox. We don't have a closer. Go away. If you want to follow us on Twitter, where I shit post and Jake actually makes things that are good and valuable, you can follow me on Twitter, DVS Bird. Follow Jake at Jake Crumpler. You can check out the Athletes Hub at Athletes Hub. It's a site. It's still going on. It's in a weird state of flux right now. But,
the Athletes Hub?
Yes. So you can check them out at theathleteshub.org. You can check out the Twitter account at Athletes Hub, where you can find all of our broadcasts, which is where you should do that. And you should check out all the stuff Jake writes.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. The website really needs to be updated, but nonetheless, the majority of my work is on there. If you want to find my most recent stuff, head over to pitcherlist.com, where you can find the weekly reliever ranks articles that I do on Mondays. You can find the weekend editions of Pitcherlist's daily podcast, the First Pitch podcast. I also do the bullpen podcast there. In the Pen comes out every Friday morning, and then I also do baseball playing time analysis over at Baseball HQ for the Giants, A's, and Diamondbacks. So if you are looking for baseball or fantasy baseball content, both Pitcher List and Baseball HQ are the top tier sites out there. So definitely go support them. And like Davis said, support the Athletes Hub if you can.
Yeah, definitely so. Pitcher List is awesome. It's the best fantasy baseball site on the internet. Check them out for sure. That's all we have, though. Make sure you check back in with us next week. We're going to try to get a consistent schedule. Wednesdays after 9. Check back in with us. We'll recap what's happened in baseball and have more musings of stuff like today. Anyway, see ya.